This sculpture is a hunter going out on the ice, getting ready for a day. The sun's coming up. The bone is a shoulder blade of an ancient bison priscus. It's in remarkable condition for its age, and the carvings are mammoth ivory. This carving is of a woman. The actual sculpture is a pelvis of a seal, and the face is out of walrus ivory, ancient walrus ivory, as is the seal. The base is made from the skull of a woolly mammoth. Out of whale bone, part of a skull of a small whale. The sphere is selenite, and the base is a wheel off an old mining cart or wheelbarrow. This sculpture is part of a whale skull. It had just such interesting form. I saw shapes that I carved into a face on one side and a walrus on the other side, but the bone itself has such sculptural qualities that I wanted to present it in a way that people could appreciate the natural forms. This mammoth baby was carved from the end of a femur of a woolly mammoth. It is the almost complete end of a mammoth bone that lended itself to being used for this little scene. The mammoth is carved from part of a pelvis of a woolly mammoth, and the base is a vertebrae. I carved it in a little way that I had never had carved one before, but I think it turned out okay. This carving is a boreal owl in a nest. The main tree is actually part of a whale jawbone that is an artifact, came from St. Lawrence Island. It had been hunted by a Siberian Yupik hunter hundreds of years ago, and in part of a subterranean house, probably as a seat, and dug up and discarded. And I bought it, and I thought it'd make a nice tree, and I put an owl in it, and here's what we carving I did from a doll sheep horn. The eagle has walrus ivory head, tail, and feet, and the salmon is made out of walrus ivory. The base is part of a whale skull. This sculpture is carved from a whale skull, and it's a piece of bone that had been buried for hundreds of years. The hair is the suture lines of a young whale. The whale was hunted by a Siberian Yupik Eskimo hundreds of years ago, and the colors in the bone come from minerals that soaked into the bone and oxidized when it was exposed to air. This falcon on a nest was carved from mammoth ivory. The base of it is part of a mammoth bone, and it depicts a gyrfalcon in its nest with its young. This falcon is carved from a horn of an ancient bison priscus. It's been buried for thousands of years. I was fascinated by the colors that came out when I carved it, and the fact that a bone or a horn that is basically made of hair had lasted that long. This swan is carved from the horn of a muskox. The base is part of a walrus skull. This sculpture is made of a pelvis of what I believe is an ancient caribou from the Ice Age. The sphere is I carved and turned out of muskox horn. Sculpture is a ancient mammoth bone with a labradorite sphere